All right, everybody, welcome to Hot Route Takes. I'm Chase Owens here with Brian Sarver, and we are missing our third guy this week, Christian Mills, who decided to take a vacation in the first month of football for whatever reason. But,
Bozo.
yeah, Bozo, I guess if your team
Mm.
starts 0-2, a beach trip sounds kind of nice, so I'm not going to harp on him too much. We love you, Christian. Enjoy that sun. We'll hold it down for this week's pod. Today, we're just going to do our week 3 preview and recap the late night football games that we didn't get to in the week 2 recap. So, starting off was the Sunday night game, which, if you haven't listened to the week 2 recap yet, you could tell by the end of it we were eager to get off so Brian could get off and watch his Dolphins play the Pats in primetime football. And it was a pretty good game. Miami ended up taking that win and becoming 2-0. Dolphins and Ravens currently the only 2-0 teams in the
Let's
AFC. So
go.
this pod's got some good vibes on it right now. The 2-0 co-host feeling. And speak to that game, Brian. What did you see from your Dolphins that allowed them to take that win?
2-0. Let's go. Yeah, I think the biggest thing I took away is Bill Belichick really threw the kitchen sink and everything else at Miami. And he deleted the middle of the field, man. We had like 0 targets across the middle, and there was just nothing there for us. And but we found ways to make stuff happen to the short flats to the right and left. Just something really I've never seen before. It's like college defense, what they try to do against us, playing 3 high safeties. But, it definitely threw a wrench in our game plan, I'm sure. We ran a lot of this RPO flat wheel thing that we ran to death of the last 2 years and really attacked the shallow areas of the field, which it's kind of crazy. You look at, by many people, Bill Belichick is the greatest head coach of all time. And what did he do to plan against the Dolphins? He planned to stop the deep ball. So I just think that's an indication that this Miami offense is legit and the deep ball is to be taken seriously, even if it is Tua throwing the football, which
Yeah.
I know many people have some strong opinions about, both for good and for bad. But I think Tua really is showing just mastery of this offense, and Mike McDaniel just scheming things up, making it really hard to defend these guys on the perimeter with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But I thought Christian Gonzalez, the Patriots rookie corner, played an excellent game here. And we were able to run the football very well in this football game because of the way they took away the deep ball. So racking up rushing yards on the ground, playing complementary offense, making some plays on defense. But this game was a whole lot closer than it probably should have been. We had a field goal block by just a super innovative motion by Bill Belichick to block the field goal. And that's what I mean by that he gave us the kitchen sink, man. So we also missed a 55-yard field goal, and we had some procedural things that just kept going wrong. It's like snaps being dropped. Tua almost fell down and threw one out of bounds. Luckily, he got out of bounds with it. But in general, man, nice team win for Miami. I thought it was super impressive to be able to counter Bill Belichick and adjust on the fly, because last year there was times where we just didn't adjust. We saw what the defense was doing, and we just kept sticking to our game plan. It just clearly was not working. The Chargers game last year being one, and then there was another one that really stuck out. I want to say 49ers, but we actually played pretty decent. But really, the Chargers game, the one that really sticks out to me. But, man, just good win overall, and I'm glad to see Miami just looking like a full, complete team, because week 1, the run defense was a major question mark, and we really they bowed their backs and they stopped New England's ground game, and we won in the trenches on the offensive side of the ball. So, very, very good team win, man.
Yeah, I think that's why the vibes of this pod right now is so good, because I feel both of our teams have showcased these first 2 weeks that they're one of the better, more contending teams in the AFC, because they have the ability to beat you in different ways with their defense, with the different variety of ways they can move the football on offense. And in this ball game, I really noticed how Mostert established himself as lead back, and no matter what concept they were running, inside zone, outside zone, they were really hurting the Patriots and picking up big chunks on the ground. That's refreshing to see from a Miami offense. who's last year we thought Mostert was the guy for most of the year. He just couldn't really stay on the field. And Miami's not going to, they're never going to lean heavy on the run because they're so dynamic through the air. But when teams go to take that away in the middle of the field, like the Patriots did Sunday night, it's
Yep.
refreshing to see the plan B and the counter to that work so effectively. And then the defense had it rolling, I thought, just generating pressure, even if they didn't get home all the time. And then the corners playing well, X getting that pick off Mac. Just
Yep.
a well rounded game. I think we're feeling good because our teams look to be the upper tier of teams in the AFC, and it's loaded. So a 2-0 start gets you ahead of everyone else in this conference, which is big down the line because you're going to play these other good teams, and to
Mhm.
be rolling early is a good feeling. So,
Yeah, I had one more thing I wanted
yeah,
to add in there. This is without Teron Armstead, Jalen Phillips, and Jalen Ramsey. So it just makes you think, how good can this team be at their peak? We might not see that by the time Ramsey and Co come back. Some other guys might be out, but I just was really encouraged by the performance there. And another note I had is Jalen Phillips still has the most pressures on the football team, and he didn't play last week. So I thought that was crazy.
yeah.
He had
I
7
mean,
pressures in week 1.
refreshing stuff. I mean, y'all are keeping Tua upright. I saw in Ravens Bengals game last week, we were down 2 offensive linemen, and Lamar wasn't touched all day. And
Yep.
winning ball games against good teams without your full complement of great players, like the Ravens without offensive lineman Marcus Williams and Marlon Humphrey in the secondary, that showcases the depth of our football teams, and that's why we're excited coming in this year. We
Yeah.
think we have full rosters, when healthy, have a chance to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs, the 49ers, whoever they may match up with in a deep playoff run. We're confident in our teams and couldn't ask for a better start. Unfortunately for our co-host, Christian can't say the same. I'm sorry, Christian, I love you, buddy, but we're going to get to their game this week, and it's a big one because the Chargers can't afford an 0-3 start in this AFC the way it is. So some storylines to be told. But first, we want to recap the other Monday night games. There were 2 of them before we get
Mm-hmm.
into the preview. The first was the divisional matchup between the Saints and the Panthers. The Saints taking that one 20-17, I believe, the final there. I believe both of us had New Orleans in that game. Saints moving to 2-0. 2 close wins, although Carolina had a late score to make it close. Not very impressive dominant wins, but Derek Carr playing sound football and doing what he needs to do to beat football teams. And the defense for New Orleans has really been the storyline these first 2 weeks in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Secondary playing well, and the defensive line imposing their will in the trenches. Any takes from that game, either Saints, Panthers sides that you had?
Yeah, so I watched a little bit of this football game, and the main takeaway that I had is that the Saints are really trying to get Michael Thomas going. He got 9 targets in this game, and almost all of them were in the first half. So they were really trying to force feed him the football, and it kind of worked. They had some moments there because this Carolina defense was severely hurting without JC Horn in the secondary at corner. That's a key player for this secondary. They're not super deep when they don't have him out there. But I think this Saints offense is only going to get better as the year goes on. This is only Derek Carr's second game in this offense, and man, he's got quite a few weapons here. They could not rush the football all that well. They had Taysom Hill come in because they had injuries. Jamal Williams got hurt in this game. Alvin Kamara's not back yet till week 4. And then their rookie was also hurt in this game. I can't remember his name, but anyways, back out of TCU. Gosh, I got him on one of my dynasty leagues too. Man, never mind. Anyway, but the Saints offense, man, it just seemed like things were just a little bit out of timing here and there. Carr was a tick early on some of his throws. Receivers weren't quite expecting it yet. They were getting out their break, and the ball was flying over their head. But I think given time, this offense has potential to be quite explosive, man. With Chris Olave, Shaheed, Michael Thomas, Franklin Moreau, and then you sprinkle in Alvin Kamara there. Derek Carr, we all think he's pretty mid, but he's got the weapons to be, I think, pretty dang good. And then on the Panther side of things, I just thought the offense is just so limited, man. They didn't have a whole lot going on. Bryce Young was sacked 4 times and he kept getting up. That's the biggest takeaway I got, because I don't want to pass too much judgment on the guy when the offense is just, at this point in time, it's just incompetent.
Yeah.
Their weapons are not there. These guys are not getting open. So,
Yeah.
yep.
I'm kind of with you on those takeaways, and I believe the back you're thinking of is Keandre Miller, right? Out of
Kendrick
TCU.
Miller. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, some injuries there in the backfield for New Orleans, but albeit Derek Carr playing sound football and getting themselves to 2-0. The other Monday night football game was the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. I believe both of y'all had Cleveland. I remember on the preview pod, I took Pittsburgh, and for no good reason other than a gut feeling of Mike Tomlin winning a Monday Night Football game. And if you want to see a Pittsburgh Steelers win, go watch that football game highlights because the defense balled out. I mean, we were talking in our group text that we didn't know which quarterback looked worse, Kenny Pickett or Deshaun Watson. Neither
Yeah.
played well, and it was 2 defensive scores that were the difference for Pittsburgh in this ball game to get their first win of the year. Just great stuff from TJ Watt and company, getting after Deshaun all day. Obviously, the big news that came from this game was the unfortunate injury to Nick Chubb. Once again, his knee, I believe, is torn ACL. I hadn't seen the official medical terminology on it, but he is going to be out for the year. So as a result, Cleveland has re-signed Kareem Hunt, who is a free agent still, and he's going to enter this running back fold. But yeah, Deshaun's not looking good in this offense these first 2 weeks, and now you take away, in our mind, your biggest weapon on offense in Nick Chubb. Deshaun's going to have to do a lot more heavy lifting, and I'll give credit to Pittsburgh being a good defense, but Deshaun better figure some things out if he wants to lead Cleveland to a playoff spot this season.
Yeah, so starting on the Browns side of things, you pretty much talked about it with Nick Chubb, which was a dirty hit, mind you. I think everyone probably saw it. That might have been why they didn't air it, because that was just a horribly dirty hit by Minka Fitzpatrick. And you hate to see that for a guy like Nick Chubb, who's been honestly a great since he's been in the NFL. He deserves that kind of respect. And I really hate to see a guy like that go down, especially with like that. But it's probably not just one ligament. I don't want to speculate here, but it was pretty gruesome. And I hope Nick Chubb the best going forward, man. I hope he heals up. But outside of that, I thought Jerome Ford came in and relieved him pretty well. He played a pretty nice football game. He had a long run, 69-yard run, that is. And Deshaun Watson was not good. Got sacked 6 times. Like you said, Steelers do have a good defense. All credit to them. But, man, 1 interception, sacked 6 times, and fumbled twice. Lost both of them. So that's just, it's piss poor, man.
Yeah.
Watson end of it, and Kenny Pickett wasn't much better, if he was better. I mean, I understand probably his top weapon, Deontay Johnson, was out, and they just can't really run the football at all. So they were having to throw the ball on a good defense here. And, you know, I've already made my thoughts clear on George Pickens. I don't think he's all that great of a receiver. I don't think he's a great separator. He got targeted 10 times in this football game and had 4 receptions for 127 yards and a touchdown. That's a good performance by him altogether, but he did get targeted 10 times and only caught 4 of them. So, you know, Kenny Pickett was trying to force feed him the ball, and it just quite wasn't working out. They did hook up for a long 71-yard touchdown pass, which was huge in this football game. But outside of that 71 touchdown pass, you had 29, 27, so 60 or 56 yards receiving outside of that. So I thought that was more indicate of his performance, not besides the long deep ball that he had. But overall, man, I was disappointed in both these offenses and impressed by both the defenses. So
yeah, I mean, kind of what we expected. Just more points, and it was because of the defense getting those scores that generated those points.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to harp on Deshaun too much, but for the money you're paying him, we said it's a good defense, but you're getting paid to beat good defense. So you're getting paid like a top-end quarterback. The top-end quarterbacks, they have poor weeks here and there, but he's just had a poor half of football when he started last year and came back.
Yep.
And these first 2 weeks have been pretty sloppy, like sloppy turnovers and not getting rid of the football and using his athleticism to make plays. It's nothing like Houston Deshaun we saw. So Cleveland could be in some trouble if they don't get some some more vintage Deshaun Watson, and now that they're going to be absent Nick Chubb.
Hey, I will say this. Boy, am I glad that we didn't trade for Deshaun Watson. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the trajectory that Tua is on and the trajectory that Deshaun is on. There couldn't be more opposite trajectories between two quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, because Tua's taken steps every single week since he's been healthy and on the field and captaining this aerial attack with Miami now. And Deshaun, ever since he's taken a snap with Cleveland, it's been kind of rough shop, the whole offense. So yeah, it's interesting, and I too would be very happy you didn't give up those assets and that money that Cleveland just did. So rough look for Cleveland right now. Hopefully, obviously we don't want to see Nick Chubb go down, a great person, a great player, but we'll keep an eye on that offense moving forward. So that
I got some news that just came in. Sorry, Chase, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead, bud.
Rams are sending running back Cam Akers to the Minnesota Vikings for a swap of 2026 draft picks.
Wow. Breaking news on the pod. That is an entry. I saw Cam was he requested a trade last year. That's always been a sour relationship. And McVay came out and said they were actively trying to deal him again at the beginning of this year. He's had rough performances again at the beginning of this year. It's been very, very high volume for very little production in his tenure with LA. And I saw the Ravens were listed as one of the teams. I was praying we did not get in on that because I'd much rather have our depth. We re-signed Kenyon Drake to the practice squad today for a depth piece. But Minnesota, that ground game was terrible. So they had to bring someone in. I don't bash them for doing this trade. Maybe Cam gets a new set of vocals and coaching in his ear that sparks him to be Florida State. Cam Akers, I don't know. He looked really rough in LA, so that was a sour relationship that needed to end. So yeah, appreciate you breaking that for us, Brian. We'll move on to the Week 3 preview here. Our Thursday night football game is maybe one of the more lopsided lines you're going to see. If I hadn't checked the odds, if they're out yet, I'm trying to look now as we record. I don't see San Fran list. There's an over under. Oh yeah, the line is San Fran favored by 10 points, which in an NFL game is a lot. You don't see north of one possession a lot in NFL football games, but that's the discrepancy between these two teams. Albeit New York came back and got a win last week. They looked terrible in that first half against Arizona. If you want to listen to our recap on Week 2, we touched on that. But San Fran, they're coming off a win against the Rams, 2-0, looking dominant on both sides of the ball. For me, there's not much choice here. I think San Fran's a heavy favorite for a reason. And at home, Thursday night football, I expect them to play very well and take a 3-0 start in this season and just dominate the Giants on both sides of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I'm going Niners here. There are some key injuries in this football game. Andrew Thomas is not going to play Thursday, and that's a huge loss because, Evan Neal's their other tackle on the other side, and he's struggled greatly so far this year. Andrew Thomas has kind of elevated his game last couple of years. He's been pretty solid. Actually, he's been really good, not solid. And then Brandon Ayuk is questionable to play for this game, playing this game with a shoulder injury. It kind of lessened his snaps last week. He had to come out. He did have some performance. He had like 4 catches for 50 yards, but he was definitely not 100% there. And then Saquon Barkley, obviously, he's going to miss a couple weeks with a ankle sprain, so it's just not a good look for the Giants in this football game. If I had to bet any of the games next week that one team is going to beat the other, I'm picking San Fran to beat the Giants. I just don't see much of a chance for the Giants here.
Yeah, that too would be my luck of the week. But we were reacting on the recap, our last pod, due to the Saquon injury in live time. But lucky for New York, it looks like they avoided major injury there. He is going to miss this game, but it won't look to be anything super long term. So any success for New York kind of depends on Saquon being there and being productive. So a good sign for them. But shorthanded against San Fran. We're both going to take San Fran. I'm with you there. Next, we're going to move on to Sunday, the 1 o'clock slate. The aforementioned Cleveland Browns will be taking on the Tennessee Titans in Cleveland. matchup of 1-1 teams. Cleveland coming off that loss to Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football. Tennessee getting that impressive overtime victory at home against the Chargers. Some sloppy play from Cleveland turnover-wise week 2. Tennessee had that problem week 1 against the Saints, and Tannehill cleaned it up week 2. I'll give him credit. I kind of went back and forth. I think I trust Deshaun to bounce back a little more and Ryan Tannehill not to keep up the performance. So I ultimately went Cleveland at home. I think the defense, Myles Garrett, could get to Tannehill a good bit. I know Bosa had a day against that Tennessee offensive line last week, so I kind of expect more of the same from Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith next week. I went with Cleveland. I think it'll stay a close game, maybe even a one-possession game, and maybe Deshaun leads a late game-winning field goal type drive late. That would really boost his confidence. That's something this Cleveland team needs.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I am going to go Cleveland. I think a big part of it is Derrick Henry is listed on the is questionable for this game, and if there's no Derrick Henry, I have little faith that the Browns can win this football game. Just because, like I've said on previous pods, so much of Ryan Tannehill being a successful quarterback depends on the running game being successful. And I do have some faith in Tajay Spears, their backup running back rookie, out of Tulane. I think he's a good player, but this Cleveland Browns front was just really getting after it Monday night. And I think I expect the same in this football game. I think overall, I think Watson will probably disappoint again, but this Cleveland defense will lift them up and be able to take them to victory. So I'm going to go Cleveland here, although I think Tennessee has definitely surpassed expectations through 2 games.
I would agree on that, Brian. I did not expect much from the Tennessee passing offense. They showcased that a little last week. But that said, it's also a concern that maybe this is the LA Chargers secondary, which Christian has harped on, that could be the cause of that. So let's see if Mr. Tannehill does it against Denzel Ward and company. They're already playing better than they did week 1. If they keep that trend, they could pull off a road victory here in week 3. Moving on to the NFC side, we have the 2-0 Atlanta Falcons coming off a come-from-behind victory against the Green Bay Packers, traveling to the other dome in the NFC, the Detroit Lions. Detroit 1-1 coming off the overtime loss to Seattle. So disappointing loss, but they played well against a good football team. I think you could lean either way with this. I wouldn't be shocked to see either team win. But I do like the Detroit roster better. I like the Detroit quarterback play better, and that's the reason I'm going with them here. I believe David Montgomery was injured last game, so I'm really hoping to see Jahmyr Gibbs use a lot more this time around. The Falcons are showcasing what a good, dominant early running back can do for your offense. Bijan has had a great first couple of weeks. I think Jahmyr Gibbs needs to be featured and showcased on the Detroit side of the football week 3. And they utilize him along with St. Brown and the other Raymond and the other weapons they have in this passing game. And that can make for a dynamic offense and a lot of points. I don't really expect Desmond Ridder to win many shootouts, and I think Detroit puts up north of 24, 27-ish points. I don't really see Desmond matching that production. So that is my reasoning for taking Detroit in this one.
Gotcha. I respect that. I think if you look at this football game, one thing is for certain that these 2 teams are going to try to run the football. They both have really good offensive lines and good backs behind those great offensive lines. However, Dan Campbell did come out and say David Montgomery was going to be all right. He was listed as day-to-day with a thigh bruise. Originally, David Montgomery said it was going to take weeks, which scared me because I got Barkley, Nick Chubb, and David Montgomery on my paid fantasy team. And boy, it was rough seeing all that go down.
God. T's and P's, brother. Holy goodness.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. But Dave Montgomery appears to be okay. I'm glad he's all right. But C.J. Gardner-Johnson got placed on IR with, I believe, a shoulder injury. But, man, you hate to see that. He's a good player. If I had to pick here, I think the Falcons are going to continue this win streak and go to 3-0. I just think if there is a weakness on this Detroit team, it is the run defense. They got some guys. They got Adam McNeil. They got Aiden Hutchinson. Charles Harris. But I think that is where this weakness is on this football team, and I think Bijan and company can really get after him up front. So I'm going to go with the Falcons here.
Wow, I like it. I don't know how much we'll differ on this pod with just two guys. I'm hoping it's more so just for the entertainment value of the listening experience. But for those of you wondering, Christian will have his picks in. Obviously, we can't air them here. We don't know what they are yet, but we'll recap them. I believe he'll be back Sunday afternoon for the recap show, and he'll fill us in on why he picked so and so for each of these games. But moving on here in the 1 o'clock slate, we have the 2-0 New Orleans Saints against the 1-1 Green Bay Packers. Just mentioning how the Falcons came back in that game against Green Bay to take that victory away from them. Green Bay will be at home in this game. I'm not sure what the weather holds for Lambeau, but normally September, 1 o'clock start. It's still pretty fair weather, so I wouldn't expect too much going on there in that department. But New Orleans, they're going to be shorthanded in the ground game again, it seems. So you would expect Derek Carr to have to pull some weight, get Michael Thomas involved, which they try to do Monday night, and Olave and company. This is a pretty split game on the app right now. We got 52 percent going with New Orleans, 48 going with Green Bay at home. So you can really flip a coin and land on your choice. For me, I picked New Orleans to start 3-0. I think there's pretty evenly matched teams right here. Green Bay's kind of exceeded my expectations in the first couple weeks just based off what I saw from Jordan Love. So that excites me for their fan base. But I think Carr is playing pretty clean football right now, and I expect that to continue despite not having much of a ground game. That worries me. But I think Olave and Thomas make enough plays through the air, and the defense maybe gets a hold of Jordan Love in the backfield or maybe forces him into a mistake or something that turns this game in New Orleans' favor.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you here. Who did New Orleans play in week 1?
They played Tennessee. 1-point win at home against Tennessee, yeah.
So they beat a pretty poor Tennessee defense and then a pretty poor Chargers defense as well. So I'm not sold on Derek Carr and this offense being, super good. I do think they have a potential to really get things going at some point this season, but I'm going to go Green Bay here. And if you've listened to the pod, you know that I'm a Jordan Love guy. I believe in the kid. I think he's poised to have a good game here, especially if he gets his top weapon back, Christian Watson, who has not played at all this season. And he's been plenty productive without him. We know 6 touchdown passes, no interceptions, 400 yards passing. I mean, I don't think many people saw this coming from Jordan Love out the gate. I didn't see it coming out the gate. Thought it was going to take him some time to acclimate to the NFL level being a starter. But, man, he's come out slinging the football, playing pretty good. Granted, some of these were schemed up passes. The receiver made the play for him after the catch. But, yeah, I'm going to go Green Bay here. I think the difference will be Green Bay's passing attack with Christian Watson.
Yeah, I've been missing seeing Christian Watson on the field because I think he has that chance to take a next step, and especially if he establishes a connection with Jordan Love and that becomes a thing, and they feed him the ball. He's not going to be competing for many snaps between the other wide receivers on that team. So Jordan Love feeding him the ball and just getting on the same page with him early on in this football season, I think could spell for some good juice down there in Green Bay. Excited to see him play some football again. We'll move it on to one of the most fun teams to watch, obviously for Brian. Really, I think any casual football fan right now wants to tune into this Miami Dolphins team because the passing attack is must-see TV each week, and they're going to be going up against a pretty good secondary. Maybe one of the most mouth-watering matchups of the week, Tyreek Hill versus PS2 Patrick Surtain. Man, that is worth the price of admission right there. It's going to be down in Miami. I don't think there wasn't much lean either way for me. I think it's obvious that I'm going with Miami, and more so because I think Denver can get a few stops here and there, but I don't trust Denver's offense to I know they put up 33 last week against the Commanders, but I don't trust them to just keep a full 60 minutes of clean football going. You see the Russell Wilson getting taken down because he's holding on to the ball, the line playing sloppy and getting them sacked, the receivers not getting separation, whatever it may be. Denver just seems to shoot themselves in the foot on the offensive side of the ball a lot. And they got out to a big lead against Washington last week and still find a way to lose that game. The early Sean Payton, Russell Wilson experiment's not looking good, and I don't expect a change against a more dominant AFC team in the Miami Dolphins. I think Tua and company put up another sound performance. The defense balls out, gets Russ into mistakes and some backfield pressure, maybe a few sacks in this game for Mr. Chubb or whoever it may be on that line. Mr. Wilkins maybe gets back there. Yeah, Dolphins, I'd say comfortably in this one. What's your heart and non-biased brain say? Are you pulling an upset against your own team, Brian?
I think right now for me, it's pretty hard not to be biased just because, man, I've never seen a start like this to a Miami Dolphins season in my life. And, man, I've never been more confident in a Dolphins team in my life. I mean, it's just been phenomenal watching this team play just through 2 weeks. I'm very excited to see this football game. I think there's a lot of key matchups here in this football game. One thing to look for, Jalen Waddle got concussed last week, and he may not be in this football game. And thinking through the lens of Denver and how they would try to stop this Miami offense, you got Patrick Surtain, and for my money, the best corner in football. We saw Christian Gonzalez matched up pretty well against Tyreek Hill, and that was another thing that I talked about previously with Christian Gonzalez having the movement skills and ability to stay with a guy like Tyreek Hill versus a guy like Sauce Gardner, who I think would struggle a little bit more against that receiver type. Not to say Sauce Gardner's not a bad player. That's not what I'm saying. It's just you got strengths and weaknesses as players. And Jalen Waddle being out can cause Denver to be able to play select defensive football, having PS2 guard up Tyreek, have a safety over top, and then really just lock down these other guys that aren't by no means Jalen Waddle. You know, having a Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the field just creates so many mismatches in any given play. So hopefully Jalen Waddle can play. I know he cleared the neuro part of it. He was out on the field getting action, but he was not cleared to practice yet. Of course, it is only Wednesday. We'll see what happens as the week progresses, but I think that's a key matchup here. Having Jalen Waddle or not having Jalen Waddle will definitely change the tides of this football game. And then on the other side, Justin Simmons is questionable, but I am not so much thinking Miami's going to win this football game because of our offense. I think we'll score points. But, man, do I think this defensive line is going to get after Russell Wilson. I think Jalen Phillips is on the verge of breaking out and having one of those monstrous games. And I think it could be against Russell Wilson. Bradley Chubb, of course, going against his former team. I know he's looking to make waves in this football game, and I think he will. He was the highest graded player on our defense, our entire team last week against New England. So Bradley Chubb, healthy. He's been playing good football. I'm excited to see what this front does against Denver offensive line, but more so just against Russell Wilson holding to the ball. He's not dangerous anymore. He's sit in the pocket, Russ, and get sacked. So looking forward to that football game.
Yeah, I would be too. I think almost all defensive lines need to be licking their chops anytime they see Denver on the schedule because since Russell Wilson's been there, it's been a heavy, heavy sack dosage for opposing teams lining up against that offense. We'll move it on to our guy Christian's team in the 1 o'clock window. Let's see if either one of us can piss him off when he listens to this pod later tomorrow afternoon on the beach. And when he looks back and sees that one of these football teams in this football game, the LA Chargers or the Minnesota Vikings, both teams I had in the playoffs in my preview, one of them's going to start 0-3 and recovering enough for a playoff spot with an 0-3 start, especially in the loaded AFC. That is a uphill climb. Vital football game, I think. Yeah. Maybe the most important of week one. Two high-powered offenses. The offenses have been playing fine first 2 weeks for both of these teams, especially passing units on both sides. Last week, the Chargers' run game took a step back against Tennessee. Minnesota's has been non-existent, thus the attempt to trade for Cam Akers during this pod right here. You see what's churning in the front office's mind up there. So which offense establishes a ground game? Which defense plays better in the secondary, especially? That's going to be the deciding factors in this game. Ultimately, I'm gonna show some love to Christian. I'm not gonna make him mad at the beach. I've got LA winning this one. Maybe a bit of an upset. It seems like Moore is actually picking Minnesota on this pigskin pick 'em right now. It's kind of split 57-43, 57 going in the favor of Minnesota. But I landed on LA because I believe Justin Herbert, he has it in him to make the game winning type drive, uh, game deciding throw more so than a Kirk Cousins. And I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is bad. He's played great football, especially these last couple years, for having the rap that he's not a clutch player. He's thrown that by the wayside. He is playing good football, and none of these losses have been his fault. I more so think Justin Herbert takes this game and just takes a win away from him. No fault to Kirk Cousins. I think Herbert's got to establish himself as a trusted leader late game situations. I'm seeing that narrative thrown around right now because he hasn't won a playoff game because the Chargers chose a slow start. I think he turns that around week 3 and gets his coach off the hot seat, because a loss here would really light those flames to that talk. And I think the Chargers will get it straightened out and squeak out a narrow road win in week 3.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this injury report, and I see Dion Henley, Eric Kendricks, and Joey Bosa are all questionable for this football game. So that's their entire second level, and their best pass rusher. And Austin Eckler is questionable. So, is Kirk Cousins going to pass for 466?
Oh, no. Who performance from Kirk is what you're saying, Brian? Is that what you're telling me?
Tua-esque performance. I think it's possible. Really, though, I am going to go with the Chargers here. And the reason why I'm going to go with the Chargers is just because, man, this Chargers team is too talented to be losing these football games like this, man. And you can look all across both sides of the defense or both sides of the team and think, dang, man, this team's loaded. Why are they not winning games? I think it's one answer. It's coaching, man. Now, you look at Brandon Staley. I think if he loses this football game, that seat's only getting hotter. And I don't know how much leash he's really got at this point. I don't think he's proven himself by no means. I think the most impressive thing he's done as far as scheming up defensively was stop Miami last year and stop that offense, and then they just got completely roasted in week 1, and they just lost to Tennessee. And that loss to Tennessee included the Chargers getting the ball first in overtime and Justin Herbert going 0 for 3. You wonder why people are saying he don't got the dog in him? That's it right there. And so I think, to me, this Chargers team has to prove something to me. I'm not in on Minnesota. I did have them in the basement of the NFC North. And it really has to do with the defense, the offensive line being so-so, and there being no running game. So I am going to go the Chargers here.
Okay. You heard it here, Christian. Don't blame us. We're showing love to your guys despite what they've shown us in the secondary. We still believe in Justin Herbert. He's too good for us not to. So enjoy your beach, and we'll hopefully have some better vibes Sunday when we're recapping that game. Moving on back to the AFC side, the AFC East matchup. It's going to be the New England Patriots traveling to take on Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. Pats 0-2 start, although they have faced two pretty good teams, in my opinion, two of the better teams in football. The Jets coming off a drubbing from the Dallas Cowboys last week. Looked sad, just a sad performance from that team. I really expected no less with a Zach Wilson-led team that didn't establish any type of run game and was getting turnovers from Mr. Zach Wilson. I've got New England picking up their first win, and I think Matt Judon's in for a day. I think Christian Gonzalez, who played well last week against a great receiving core, I think he's in for a day against Mr. Zach Wilson. Just, man, it's going to be hard for me to pick any. As good as their Garrett Wilson is, as good as their defense and pieces they have there is, it's anytime you're throwing that guy out under center, I'm going to have a tough time picking the Jets this season. That's why we talked last pod about the Jets possibly diving into the QB market. What is out there, we don't know, but it's not going to be a pretty picture for the Jets team in my mind if they keep rolling with this roster and Zach Wilson hoping that he leads the way. Mac Jones right now, he's not a huge upgrade, but he's played well enough these first 2 weeks in my mind that he'll get a road victory and get the Pats their first win of the year.
Yeah, unfortunately, man, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I think the Pats are going to take this game, despite having both their offensive guards potentially missing this game. Listed as questionable on the injury report. However, on the other side of things, both tackles are hurt for the Jets, and Brees Hall is questionable. So it could really go either way. I think this is probably, for my money, the closest game of the week. I really had a hard time deciding who would win this football game, and that is with Zach Wilson, right? But if you flip the script and you look at Mac Jones in that offense, Sauce Gardner is going to take his top weapon away, and then what else,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this Jets defense, yeah, they got exposed last week a little bit, but this is a different offense. I think this Jets defense can really put the clamps on them, and this game could go either way. I think last time these teams played, it was decided by a punt return at the very end of the game, and the Patriots ended up taking that one, I believe.
Yeah.
The Patriots won that game, and so I'm gonna go New England here. I expect Mac Jones to perform okay in this football game and just take it home.
Did you happen to see the Brees Hall tweet after last week's football game? I believe he tweeted out 4 football emojis representative of
Yeah.
4 total touches he had in that game. Of course, he's voicing his frustration, but he's got a point. Like, if the Jets want to put up north of 10 points, they kind of need to lean on this rushing attack and not expect Zach Wilson to go out and light up secondaries.
You can't have Zach Wilson lead your team in rushing, man. Like,
Yeah, we touched on that in the recap. I wanted to point that out here. Yeah, the coaching staff, they got to rally this defense and the offense to play clean football if they want a chance of winning football games. And New England's a beatable opponent, but I think they'll get a little outcoached, and the defense on New England should play better, in my opinion. So we're both going New England there. We'll move to the last AFC East team on this slate. They're going to be the Buffalo Bills traveling to Washington to take on the 2-0 Washington Commanders. 2 wins over a lowly Cardinals team and a lowly Broncos team, both of those 0-2. But 2-0 is 2-0 in the NFL. Buffalo,
right.
a different monster, though, coming into Washington. And Josh Allen just looked like a completely different guy from week 1 Monday Night Football to week 2 against Vegas last week. I really expect more of the same. I love what I saw from James Cook last week and the establishment of him in this offense and spreading the football around, getting Kincaid involved. Gabe Davis had a good day. I spoke to this last week on the recap, but I think there's a huge correlation between rushing attack productivity, Gabe Davis productivity, and Josh Allen having good football games. I expect more of the same here in week 3, although Washington is not no slouch. They have a great front. They've been playing well these first 2 weeks, but I think they'll be a little outmatched here, and Buffalo pick up their second win of the year.
All right. Tell me which one of these 2 stat lines is Josh Allen, and tell me which one of them is Sam Howell, okay? Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
60 of 78, 510 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
I'm gonna say that's Josh, just because he had 3 week 1.
46 of 70, 501 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
That's Sam
You were
Howell.
right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's just, so Allen has 9 more yards passing on 8 more attempts. He does have an extra touchdown, but 2 more picks in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, credit Sam Howell. He is playing clean football, and he's a big reason behind this 2-0 start, and Brian Robinson having himself a great week, too. So, yeah, by no means this is a knock against Washington. They're playing good football, but they may find themselves a guy, and they can flirt with a playoff spot if they keep this thing up.
Yeah, I would have to agree, although I'm not all that confident in the Commanders. I do think they are pretenders at this point in time. I still think they're pretenders. I am going to go Buffalo here. I think they probably get this running game going again. Josh Allen just has another Josh Allen day. I'm going to go Buffalo.
Yeah, I love it, man. But credit that staff for getting some 2 wins against teams you should be if you're hoping for any type of flirt with playoff contention in the NFC. We're moving on to the AFC South matchup. The Jacksonville Jaguars, a heavy home favorite against the Houston Texans. Houston, man, Baltimore took advantage of a young Houston team in week one. Didn't play the cleanest football, but we beat them. And then last week, they got lit up by. It started Anthony Richardson, who went out with a concussion, and then Gardner Minshew came in and picked right where he left off. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Houston, I really expected more from this defense last week, but I will say CJ Stroud's looking good in the first couple weeks. Promising effort there. The development of Nico Collins last week, we touched that on the recap show in our last pod. I think there's promising signs for Houston. Unfortunately, there's a little outmatched here. Trevor Lawrence and company, I think they have a good day. I think they reestablished the run game with ETN, who had a little bit of a rough week last week against KC. I would expect north of 24. You can see the 30s pretty easily, I think, for Jacksonville in this one, and they'll take a comfortable home win in this AFC South matchup.
Yeah, I'm close to the point. If you're a Houston fan, you might want to just scrap this season and focus on the development of CJ Stroud and this offense, just kind of looking better. Of course, your defense, you got lots of young players out there you have hopes for, aspirations for, that will be good football players, but it's just been pretty rough through 2 weeks. Hopefully they improve, but CJ Stroud impressed me. I think he's been relatively impressive considering it's only his first 2 games, and this offense is extremely limited. He's been getting sacked. This offensive line has not protected him extremely well. I am going to go with Jacksonville here. I just think Jacksonville's got too much firepower. Trevor Lawrence is bound to rebound because he did not play extremely well last week. I thought it was one of his more off games that I've seen of him. He had a lot of near misses. I expect him to rebound as Jacksonville offense get things going again.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Brian. We haven't differed a whole lot from this pod. I'm not sure we're going to differ on this next pick, although you could put me in a bad mood if you choose so too. Our last 1 o'clock game is the Indianapolis Colts, as we were just talking on this last matchup, and my Baltimore Ravens at home in Baltimore. A 2-0 start for my Ravens, coming off a good big divisional win against Cincinnati last week. Down offensive linemen, as we talked, down key players in the secondary, and still coming out with a big, huge road victory. I just love everything I'm seeing from my team right now, man. The ability to beat good opponents in different variety of ways through the
Mm-hmm.
air. The Lamar Jackson show last week, he was very sharp, man. It was just such command of that offense. And week 2, that's so refreshing to see this early in the season. And I really expect just more steps to be taken throughout this season. Maybe this week I'm going to look for a little more involvement in Mark Andrews. Although he got his targets last week, I could see the middle of the field get attacked a little more. Last week it was Lamar and Nelson Aguilar in the middle. Maybe this week it's Mark Andrews and Lamar and Gus Edwards and Justice Hill having a nice day on the ground and not expecting Lamar to carry the workload on that side on the rushing attack so much. So against a lesser opponent, I'm not saying the Colts are a bad team, but the Bengals have established themselves as one of the better AFC teams. So you're facing a lesser opponent at home. I want to see just a more another step. That's all I want to see. And the defense is playing so good. I want to shout out quickly some Roquan Smith love. I mean, what a home run trade that was. This guy
Mm-hmm.
is a leader, a workhorse, and just the ultimate captain of the defense.
Yeah.
Communicates to no end, like over communicates to a fault. I love that about him. And he flies to the ball, man. Flies to the ball. He's got Patrick Queen playing so loose, so free beside him, and just charging, seeing the play and reacting. I love that. I love what I'm seeing out of this defense, man. And it gets me excited to watch 1 o'clock games and Ravens football again because the last few years it's been rough shop watching offense with weaker weapons on the outside and a hobbled defense at times. It's just an exciting brand of football I get to watch with this team now, and I'm glad to see the results being coming along with that. Any takeaways for this one? Are you going to make me a little mad? You got an upset of the week here, Brian?
Yeah, man. If Anthony Richardson comes in, he's going to show Lamar who the real mobile quarterback is. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going Baltimore here. I just think you guys got too much both on both sides of the ball for Indianapolis to really be considered to win this football game. Although I will say I think this game could potentially get competitive if Anthony Richardson does play. Because I have been, I went back and watched I have been impressed by the short amount of time I've seen him play, although it hasn't been against great defenses. I do want to see a little bit more before I fully jump on the train. But, I thought impressed. Impressed. We'll just say we'll leave it there.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I
not
think
gonna. Sorry to cut you off, Brian. I'm just saying I'm not going to discount the Colts here. They played clean football last week. They gave Jacksonville a great game week one. I think they're a
mhm,
sound football team, exceeding my expectations so far,
mine too.
and lots to do with Anthony Richardson and his play. So by no means is any game a gimme game in the NFL. I picked the Ravens, but this could very well be a close one if Anthony Richardson plays, especially.
Yeah, I am going to pick Baltimore. I just think you guys got a little too much. I expect y'all to take a step, like you were talking about, with the offense. Maybe feature Mark Andrews a little bit more since now he's probably fully healthy. Maybe that will, play into that. But yeah, Baltimore, man.
Love it, love it. Well, a 3-0 start for both of our teams would be very welcome and exciting for this pod in particular. So let's root for that this week. We're going to move on to the 4 o'clock slate of games. Not too many this week, but a pretty exciting one to start it here. Seattle Seahawks at home against the 0-2 Carolina Panthers. Man, I'm really pulling for Bryce Young to get things going in Carolina, but he's up against it with this receiving core taking on the Seattle secondary. I thought Geno played inspired, commanding football in that Seattle offense last week against a pretty good Detroit team going in and getting the overtime win down in Detroit. I expect more of the same. I think Carolina can hang around because their defense is good, but I just don't expect many points to be put up right now with what Bryce Young is working with. So I've got Seattle at home, probably pretty comfortably, maybe a score or two in this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to agree with you. Bryce Young, Miles Sanders, and Brian Burns are listed as questionable on the injury report, and that's not what you want to see. Bryce Young, he's been sacked a couple times, got up. That's the biggest thing, like I said, that I wanted to see from him, and credit to him there. But just like I talked about earlier on the pod, I just don't think this team got enough on offense so that he can operate. I'm gonna go Seattle here. I expect them to maybe get the run game going in this football game.
Yeah, I like that. I would love to see Kenneth Walker get a little more shine than what he's got.
Yep.
He's a really good football player. So we'll move it on to probably one of the bigger. If it's not the Thursday night game, it's probably this one that's going to be the biggest betting line in terms of favored teams. The Kansas City Chiefs at home against the 0-2 Chicago Bears. And I want to touch on maybe I don't know if you've seen this yet, but some of the comments Justin Fields has had post game
Yes.
regarding his coaching. Very eye opening stuff. He spoke to the game sealing interception, pick six he threw down on like the 5 yard line down in Tampa Bay, pretty much blaming just the play call in general. And he said, I believe the quote I saw was, "Why are you playing so hesitant?" or something along those lines. And he said, "I don't know, maybe it's coaching." Yeah, that's eye opening stuff. That's steering the pot a little for any Bears fans listening, but I mean, I don't want my franchise quarterback having to run in with the coaching staff this early in the football season. I get it. You're frustrated. It's a new season. You want high hopes that you built momentum last year and you start 0-2. That is frustrating. He's a young
Mhm.
guy. He can't take it out on his coaching staff and just cause that pot to get stirred, that as we're doing and the media is going to do throughout the NFL. So just disappointing, but I I'm wholeheartedly uh, for Justin Fields, the athlete and the competitor. I think he's got so much talent, and I don't think by any means he's done. I think he's still going to rebound for a good year. Roster's a lot to be desired to help him out in that, but he's still got the tools to make plays and win this Bears team football games. Unfortunately, I don't think it starts here week 3. Patrick Mahomes is just a different animal, and especially at home. You got Chris Jones back on the defensive side, and they showed what they can do against a good Jacksonville team last week. Yeah, I don't expect this one to be close. Justin Fields just needs to take his wins, takes what's given to him, and make a few plays with his legs, and just improve on offense this week. And then when you get a more beatable opponent, then you rally your guys and just try to turn things around down in Chicago.
Yeah, I would agree with you. This is looks to be unsurmountable for Chicago, honestly, just given how they played last 2 weeks. But I will say Justin Fields brought the media into the locker room to address his comments about blaming the coaching. It honestly made it worse, I think. And I'm not going to dig too much into that, but you guys can find it all over social media, I'm sure. But I do believe in Justin Fields. I think he will rebound. I think this offense needs to incorporate his legs a little bit more designed runs, get him out on the edge with some rollouts, have him throw the ball on the run. Just take advantage of his athleticism and his strong arm. Allow him to push the ball down the field a little bit too. Of course, he has to see it. There were a lot of times last week where guys were running butt naked and he just didn't throw it, even though it looked like he was looking right at him. So, that's obviously extremely concerning if you're a Bears fan. I was hoping for a big year for Justin Fields. I know a lot of people out there that put their money on Justin Fields to win the MVP this year probably sick their stomach to the point they don't even watch NFL anymore. That's pretty rough. But I am going to pick Kansas City here, and I do expect Kansas City to open up their passing attack a little bit more and get more receivers involved this week.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I want to see Justin Fields just go out and play football and not think. That's
Yep.
what seems to be his problem right now. He built so much momentum and so much expectation for himself among the media and fans, and he's putting that pressure on himself too much. I think you're still working with a depleted roster, a lesser roster compared to the rest of football league. So just go out, make football plays, play football. Don't think so much, and I think
Yep.
the talent will showcase itself. We'll move on from Chicago talk. The last 425 game, we've got the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals. This one's going to be in
Sheesh.
Arizona. Yeah, I know. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. I think Dallas has looked like one of the better teams in all of football so far in these first 2 weeks.
Yes.
And Arizona, say what you will about this roster, they're playing inspired. And Josh Dobbs is playing his heart out right now. The defense is playing hard. They're just outmatched, man. And it's unfortunate. New coaching staff, I feel for you guys. Like, you're trying your best, you're implementing the right ideas and concepts and work ethics in this team, but they're just outmatched. And Dallas is a
Yep.
good football team, and they showcased that these first 2 weeks. I expect more of the same. Dallas 3-0 start.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch a whole lot on this. You pretty much covered it. I got Dallas.
Yeah. I love it. Short and sweet, man. We got three primetime games to get here. One, the Sunday night game is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas. Both teams 1-1. Pittsburgh won week 2. Vegas won week 1. So they flip-flop weeks 1 and 2. A very 50-50 split in the pick'em right now. A toss-up game. I went back and forth. I thought Pittsburgh defense looked dominant Monday night, and I still think, truthfully, I think they're the better team. I, I went with my gut and picked Pittsburgh last week. I'm going with my gut and picking against them this week. I think Pittsburgh is the better team, especially on defense. But for some reason, I think Vegas wins this game. Sunday night football. I think Josh Jacobs could have a good day, especially against a Cam Hayward-less defensive line. Pittsburgh
Mm-hmm.
still not having a ground game is a big concern for me in the offense. And I don't really expect Pittsburgh's offense to do much. I think this will be a low-scoring game, but somehow Carlson will boot a late game-winning field goal, and Vegas will take a 2-1 start.
Gotcha. I'm going to go Pittsburgh here. Just because I'm just not a believer in this Raiders team. I'm not a believer in the Steelers team either. But like you had talked about, the Steelers have a really good defense. TJ Watt's playing in this football game, so I'm just leaning towards that way. Although I do think it can go either way. I think Najee Harris has potential to maybe get some stuff going in this football game. You would hope so, at least. I do think Broderick Jones needs to be inserted into this offensive line immediately. That would be my take on this team. But yeah, I'm gonna go Pittsburgh.
Yep. One of the back and forth ones for sure, and that'll be entertaining if you like defensive battles and fun, hard hitting Sunday night football game. Monday night's got two matchups once again. The 2-0 Philadelphia Eagles traveling on the road to the surprise 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Mhm.
By show of hands, who many on this this pod had 3 2-0 NFC South football teams.
No.
Yeah, I know, right? For a division that finished with 3 7-10 teams last year, the division winner, Tampa Bay, I believe, had a losing record. What, 8-9, I believe it was. 2-0 start for 3 teams, very sound. And the Tampa Bay Bucks have played honestly some of the cleanest football in this division. Baker looked really crisp against Chicago
Yeah, he
last
did.
week. Me and Brian touched on this in the recap, though. I do. Both of us think it's a bit of fool's gold because of the opponents they've had weeks 1 and 2. Not discredit anything Baker and company have done. I just think they're playing a little above their pay grade right now, in my opinion. I still, if you're a betting man, I still won't have Tampa Bay making this NFC playoff picture. That's just me.
Yeah.
No discredit to what they're doing right now, but I just think the roster's still a little bit there, lacks a little bit to be desired. And Philadelphia is one of the more sound, complete rosters. I think they improved the ground game with Swift last week, and I would expect more of the same from that rushing attack and
Mhm.
from Devontae Smith, the aerial assault he put on Minnesota's secondary. I kind of expect more of the same against Tampa Bay on Monday night, and I'll take the Eagles to start 3-0.
Yeah, I definitely think this team's fool's gold, like you said. I think the Eagles win this game, and I think they dominate the trenches, man, on both sides of the football. I think on the offense side of the ball, you'd like to see DeAndre Swift get it going again because he played well last week. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think this defensive line is going to get after Baker. I do not think they have much of an ability to run the football against a defensive line like the Eagles have. Jalen Carter, has been phenomenal so far to start his rookie year. He might be the best defensive lineman on that team,
That's saying a
which is
lot. That is saying
crazy.
a lot because it's loaded, but he is playing great football.
Yes, he is. And, man, I think Baker is lucky to make it out alive, man.
I'd agree with you,
I'm going
Brian.
Eagles.
I'm with you. I think that front seven, they maybe bring out old Baker a little bit and maybe get a mistake and a ill-advised throw or two from Baker in this game because that front seven could dominate this one. Uh,
Yeah.
Moving on to the other Monday night football game, we got a battle between the LA Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. A disappointing 0-2 start for the Bengals, and more really a disappointing start to this offense in 2023 for the Cincinnati Bengals. They looked pretty rough against my Ravens last week. They looked really
Mm-hmm.
bad week 1 against Cleveland. They played better in the second half last week, but they still, if you take away the punt return touchdown, they only put up 17 points on a team with like patchwork corners in my Ravens. So I was back and forth because I have a hard time believing Cincinnati is such a good football team that they're going to start 0-3. But I'm really buying this LA Rams, Matt Stafford rejuvenated passing attack with the talk of the league and Puka and Tutu and these guys on the outside. I'm taking LA for a road Monday night football win. And I think Aaron Donald will get after Joe Burrow and company. He's still been hobbled around, and I think that'll be a difference. And then Matt Stafford just to keep playing really good football, man. He's been really crisp these first 2 weeks, and he looked good against a great defense last week that just happened to get him late in the game on a couple picks. But other than those, he's played sound first 2 weeks. I think he'll keep it up, and the Rams will get their second win of the year. And the Bengals would drop to 0-3. That would be a huge, huge development for my AFC North run in this division.
Yeah, you want to hear a crazy stat? So I think it's since 2000, teams that started 0-2, none of them have made the playoffs except the 2022 Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, they reeled off a lot in a row last year to win the AFC North, and they're a slow starting team, so I'm not buying into the stock that they're a bad team. I still think they're a really good team. For some reason, I picked the Rams. I like what I saw the first 2 weeks. I think they'll outplay them here. But yeah, if there's a team to start 0-3 and make the playoffs, this might be the one.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern here is Joe Burrow and just the uncertainty around the whole calf injury because, that was early in preseason, maybe training camp, when he suffered the calf injury and he re-aggravated it. He's clearly not looked himself. And so, that is very worrisome, particularly since he hasn't played good either. But I'm going to go Cincinnati here. I'm very questionable about that decision. Not sure. We'll see what Joe Burrow looks like. That's the biggest thing because this team runs through Joe Burrow. Point blank, period. The offense is the Joe Burrow show, and the defense kind of plays off the offense. The identity of this team is Joe Burrow. So I'm going to go Cincinnati here, although I am very skeptical on their ability to win this football game. I'm just not completely sold on the Rams offense outside of Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford's awesome, man, but just a little bit worried about these receivers. I don't know how much I can truly buy in. I think there's some great scheming up going here and great quarterback play, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the camp that I don't think McVay has run out a bag of tricks yet. I think that bag is deep, as the kids say, and he's got more cooked up for Puka and company. Man, they will keep finding ways to get him open. Although I think this will be a close one. So I guess unless you got any closing notes, Brian, I guess that's going to wrap us up. We'll come to you again with Week 3 recap Sunday afternoon after the 1 o'clock 425 games. Hopefully with our third partner in crime, Christian, back good and tan and looking good and feeling good, hopefully after a Chargers win for his sake. But that's going to do it for this preview of Week 3. But for me and Brian, we thank you all for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. As always, look for us on YouTube, TikTok, the Shorts. Find your Spotify and Apple Podcast feeds. Share with your friends, all that good stuff that you guys keep doing. We appreciate you for listening. And, of course, we will see you again Sunday night ahead of the Sunday night football game with the recap of Week 3. Thank you all for listening. Peace out.
Peace out.